going on, everybody? I'm trying to check some levels here and make sure that everything is copacetic, that we're not too loud. And the reason I got to check is because, excuse me, I've got the headphones in today because I'm going to be playing some videos and I don't want to have a whole lot of feedback. It's Thursday, but it might as well be Monday in terms of what's going on in real estate. It's just so much going on. It's like blowing up. We're finally into a realm where people are fighting back. It doesn't matter which side of the political aisle you sit on, things are happening, and they're happening in a big way. Guys, you got to strap in here because this is just some unbelievable stuff that's going on. Unbelievable. And this is not designed to be a political show. I'm not here to talk about which way you should vote or which way you shouldn't vote and which candidate is better. I'm all about the ducats. We're talking about money here. We're talking about what's going to be best for your pocketbook and what's going to be best for my pocketbook. You know, the barometer here, I'm not worried about all the wokeness. I don't really care. I've been black for a long time and just not buying into all this crap. Opportunity is there. You just have to take it. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you. If they're telling you that you're stopped from getting into a specific opportunity, especially in real estate, they're lying to you. They're straight up just coddling and enabling your misguided thoughts. And I don't care if you're white, black, green, brown, gray. I don't care. If you think that you can't succeed in real estate, I'm just going to nod at you and say fine and ask you to get out the way. I'm not here to basically be an activist. I'm here to talk to people who are interested in finding out what they can do to make money in today's real estate market. And now we've got to take it even further. I want to talk to people about making money in tomorrow's real estate market. And right now, and I've spoken to it a lot, you know, you've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again, that we didn't have any kind of a crystal ball in place. And when I first started saying that about 2 months ago, we really didn't have a crystal ball in place. We didn't know where things were headed. We didn't have any idea what was going to happen in the very near future. We do now. It's becoming really clear what's happening. If you know where to find the data, and then you also, if you know how to use that data to make sure that the opportunities that you're seeking, number one, are real, and number two, are viable. And so let's go to the beginning in terms of talking about viability. So last week, or in the last couple of days actually, people have been talking about how the housing market has basically rebounded, and that, you know, things are on a a record pace. We're seeing, you know, things jump at 20+% month over month from the previous year. It says NAR. And by the way, anything that comes from the National Association of Realtors, I want you to take with a grain of salt. That's like reading Chinese propaganda, because of course they're going to promote the best possible scenario for real estate right now. You, as a prudent investor, have to dig deeper and see what's going on. You know, watch your game films over and over, learn the data, learn the tendencies, do as much as you can to build your own crystal ball. Because what they're saying here is that existing home sales spiked by 20.7%, and things are looking rosy. Things are looking good. You believe that? Seriously. Are you believing that? Because now this is what the permeating thought that's going to be put out there over and over and over. So we've got this other article here, and this is from, and it looks like someplace out in the Tampa Bay. No, this is from Baltimore. So you want to believe Baltimore is where things are hopping. Okay, you go with that. But it says U.S. sales of existing homes jumped 20% after a 3-month slump. It always amazes me that the first thing the National Association of Realtors will tell you, and it's beat into every realtor's head, that all real estate is local. It's sort of like looking at an election and seeing a poll where somebody's up nationally. And if you have any idea from the last election, that means absolutely nothing. So whatever the sales are in California doesn't necessarily reflect what's going on here in Florida. What's going on here in Florida doesn't necessarily reflect what's going on in Minnesota. Yet we're told that, hey, sales look great and, new home sales are up 20%. But there's no reason to look at that. What we have to look at is local data. What we've got to look at is what's going down here in South Florida. On the exact same day that the numbers came out and said that the real estate market was taken back off and it's up higher than 20%, on the same day, we find out here they're still tanking. Real estate is all local. They'll go ahead and use that mantra, but for some reason when they put the stories out, they don't say the local numbers. You need to know those. I need to know those. So if you scroll down here into the article, and it goes through the various counties, Miami-Dade residential sales decreased by 22%. Now understand what that means. If the other article said that sales were up 20, but Miami-Dade was down 22. That's a 42% swing. How far off would your investments be if you had numbers that were 42% variance? It's insane to actually be looking at what's going on nationally with what we know here in South Florida. So as we go further down here, we can see that Broward was off 21%. And Palm Beach County was off, not as bad, but 15.5%. So it's not as rosy a picture as the NAR wants us to believe. You've got to dig down. And even in here, you have to dig down. Because one of the things that was pretty interesting is although the sales have dropped, in certain markets, the price has risen. That's a very strong data point for you to hone in on. Where exactly are the prices going? So down here in Broward, median price of single-family homes jumped 5.4%. For condos, they jumped nearly 14%. But there's less sales. In Palm Beach County, single-family homes went up 5.3%, and condos went up 7.9%. It's a great data point. In Miami-Dade, prices up 5%, while condo prices are up 4.8%. So all across the board in South Florida, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, the prices are going up, but the volume is going down. The volume is going down. So, and this was from June. So what are we to say? Are these homes that were already in the process of being closed when the whole Corona thing happened? I don't know. We have to dig deep, look into the MLS, get your agent to get you some data. Are these houses that went to contract and closed in 30 days during the virus? You're going to have to get your agent to dig up that data. The surface data is scary. The variance is off the charts. Sales are down, prices are up. What causes that? What's that volatility based upon? You got to dig and find those answers. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention real quick, because what's going on right now in the market is absolutely nuts. And one of the things that's driving this velocity is the fact that nobody really knows what's going on, and the people in Washington are saber rattling, and they're coming after each other in a huge way. So yesterday, actually I made a video about it, and I talked about Biden's plan to basically destroy real estate investing. he wanted to go ahead and do away with basically the 1031 exchange and take that money that you would ordinarily not be taxed on your capital gains and tax you on it to pay for something else. He wanted to take your money and go pay for something else. So typical. It drives me absolutely crazy. By the way, if all this stuff doesn't get worked out real soon, can you imagine what the real protest might look like? People with money aren't going to burn a building. They're not going to throw bottles at cops. What do you think would happen if people just stopped paying taxes? How far are people going to be pushed before they go, you know what? You're going to give another $750 billion to people with no money, and you're going to penalize me for doing the right work? I'm here at 5:45 on a Thursday. It's my anniversary, by the way. 27 years to a lovely woman. And I'm doing my work, and I don't know what certain other people are doing. But if I'm successful at what I'm doing, you want to take that and give it to somebody else. And on top of that, we heard what Biden's plan was for housing in terms of destroying the suburbs because he wanted to do away with zoning regulations and make sure that, you know, your nice gated community could possibly have a multi-tenement building built inside that community. I'm not making it up. Go look it up. Don't be a news junkie and just take what people say. Go look it up. And you will see in there that a part of his plan for fair housing wasn't just economic, it was also based on location. Meaning people should be able to live on a golf course as well as you. I know you've worked and strived and you've saved and you've made a good life for your family, but that's not fair. No, that's not fair. These people should be living next door to you. Well, today things heated up, but before I get there, the reason I got the headphones in is I want to play a couple videos for you, and just so you can see what's happening. Because as we move forward with the problem that we're having with evictions and people not being able to pay their rent, we're seeing this happen more and more often. This is by the Congresswoman, I guess she's from Massachusetts, one of the squad members. She's one of the squad. And this woman tweeted out, cancel rent, cancel mortgage, cancel student debt. So basically what you're saying is cancel responsibility. Cancel anything that you agree to. Anything that you put your signature to doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Notice she did not say, can we have a forbearance or can we get some extra time to do some sort of modifications and workouts? No. She said, cancel it all. Get rid of it. So, and I see some of the stupidity that's expressed in the comments. And it just makes you wonder, do these people think that you can just take something and live in it forever and it's basically squatting and there's no repercussions? I'm all for helping people, but this is insane. Absolutely insane. But it can be profitable. It can be really profitable. And that's what I'm talking about. See, right today, and what these two videos I'm going to show you, they tell me do not rent a home or apartment to anybody unless it's paid for by the government. That's the crystal ball. That's my crystal ball. I'm sharing it with you. Do what you want. Ignore it. Decide that Barry's friggin' crazy. It's up to you. But it's obvious now that's what we need to be doing. We need to pull back from all forms of residential leasing, except if the government's going to be stroking you a check or a wire deposit. Let's listen to something here that Elizabeth Warren had to say, and I'm going to try and narrate this with you.
So I want to start by thanking our leader who has been instrumental in trying to put together help for families that are struggling, and Senator Van Hollen. We've worked together because we are just days away from a housing crisis that could be prevented if Mitch McConnell stops stalling and the Senate acts.
All right, let me stop there. At some point, you have to realize you can't keep blaming somebody else for what happened. It's not McConnell's fault. It's not even her fault. I'm going to say that. It's not her fault. A virus happened. And the virus happened, and, at this point, there are people who are in trouble and need help with their rents. And notice what she never says in this video. Go back.
This is about our health, our economy, and our values. Forcing thousands of people out of their homes during a pandemic will make a public health crisis worse. Widespread housing disruptions will also affect essential workers and others who are keeping our economy going.
Notice what she doesn't say there. Forcing people to pay rent. Forcing people out of their homes. Nobody's forcing anybody to pay rent. You agreed to it. Nobody's forcing anyone out of their homes. That's the law. Then rewrite the law. But you have to include a third party here that they are not currently including.
And a wave of evictions will hit communities of color the hardest, further deepening racial inequities in our nation. So first, how bad is this problem? More than 30% of all renters say today that they have little or no confidence they can make their next housing payment.
She's correct. She's absolutely correct. We've seen the data. 30% of people don't think that they can make next month's payment. I haven't seen any data, zero data, that says that overly affects black people, minorities. And I know she's lying. And how do I know she's lying? Because many of the inner city residents, people who rely on the government for money, are already getting it. They're already getting their rent paid. So this is a whole new crop of people who are in trouble that she's seeking to help. But she relies on saying it's minorities. It sounds better. It plays better politically. But she's got no facts that she offers that says that is true.
More than 40% of Black and Latinx renters aren't sure they'll be able to make their next.
So now she goes into the minority part. She didn't need to say the first part. Now she's saying more than 40%. She makes no substantive data analysis that shows that these people aren't already getting money from Section 8. But it sounds good, so let's continue. This is some really good stuff.
Rent payment. Nearly 2/3 of renters who are not confident about making their rent earn less than $35,000 a year. And more.
So if they make less, 66% or 2/3 make less than $35,000 a year, they should already be on Section 8. And where are they renting that they made less than $35,000 per year? It's almost at the poverty level. Now you see how this all sits together. When they do all these lockdowns and they stop people from going to work, who do you think it hurts? Down here in South Florida, it's a huge service economy. It's restaurants, it's bars, it's nightclubs. These are the people who need to be working right now. And these are the people that they're stopping from working. They are creating the crisis. It doesn't affect the executive. It doesn't affect most of the people who are working for a living or own a business. These are the people that they're stopping from going to work and creating the rental housing crisis.
More than a quarter of Black and Latinx renters couldn't pay last month's rent or had it deferred. Think about that. That's 1 in every 4 Black or Latino renters who are already behind on their rent.
So we're talking about a continued problem, something that's ongoing here. This isn't new. This is an ongoing problem. She doesn't talk about what is the normal eviction rate, especially here in South Florida. What's the normal percentage of evictions in South Florida? That's data that would be, good to know.
And to add to that, the high unemployment rate, the number of workers across the country who have had their hours and income cut, and the number of small businesses that have shuttered and may never reopen. And it's clear that the number of evictions will continue to rise.
Yes, they will continue to rise as long as people can't get back to work. That's why she knows it's clear it will continue to rise. It wouldn't be clear if people could go to work, but the longer you keep people at home, the more dependent they become on getting some sort of aid from the government, which is the entire reasoning for all of this. She knows her crystal ball, the crystal ball she's using, is that she knows these people are going to continue to be in a situation where they're vulnerable. How does she know? Because she created it.
Experts are predicting an avalanche of evictions if we don't institute new protections. We are already seeing a rise in evictions in cities where local eviction bans have lapsed. This is a crisis we can avoid. Instead of further delay and denial, the Senate can step up now and prevent this catastrophe before millions of people are forced out of their homes.
Haven't we just seen for the last couple of months that mayors and governors control things, not the federal government? She's talking about a federal plan that will go to certain cities, and I guarantee you it's the Chicago's, New York's, and places in California, the inner city, catering to her crowd. And she wants the feds to step in here, but she doesn't want the feds to step in and help out the people getting killed in Chicago. As a black man, this is driving me absolutely batshit crazy. I see what these people are doing. I've watched what they've done over decades, and it's the same pandering over and over and over. What she doesn't go into is how many of these families who are being evicted are single parent households. There's no dad. You created that. You destroyed the nuclear family, and you want to further destroy the nuclear family. If there were 2 incomes in that house, would they need the government? I don't know, but let her continue.
Representative Chuy Garcia and I introduced the Protecting Renters from Evictions and Fees Act. This bill protects renters from losing their housing if they lose their job or have their hours cut during this crisis and can't make their housing payment. The bill extends the federal eviction moratorium to last 1 year instead of expire.
Whoa. Did you hear that? It extends the federal moratorium on evictions for a year. A year. Not 30 days, 60 days, a year. Let me go ahead and play that back. I was at about at 122, so I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to play that again so you can just hear what she says.
Moratorium to last 1 year instead of expiring this week.
Wow. What would you do if you had a house for rent that you knew today the government that you pay taxes to is saying that the tenants that you have in place are not going to have to pay rent for a year. Notice she doesn't say anything about how is the homeowner going to be taken care of, what's going to happen with their mortgage. How are they just supposed to eat it? How are they supposed to just cancel rent? Is that what you're saying? Just, hey, they know what they're doing. So you want to cancel rent for a year. And I'm basically 3 minutes into her video here.
That means
and she
that
has
renters would be
still
protected.
yet to mention anything about the homeowner who owns the property. It's kind of redundant there, homeowner who owns the property. She hasn't said anything about the homeowner. What about their financial state? Doesn't even mention. Let's go ahead and just blow this off for a year. Let's make sure people are safe in their homes. There's nothing in this act that she's proposing to pay the homeowner. How about that? Since you're looking for a moratorium and raising money, why don't you raise money for the homeowners? Why don't you pay the homeowner, since the tenant's just going to be staying there for the next year? But she doesn't say that. So let's continue with what she has to say.
Until March of 2021. It also makes the moratorium universal. Every renter will be protected. And
every renter across the country will now, according to Elizabeth Warren's rule, not have to pay rent for a year. She said that word. She goes, it's universal. Getting used to that word? It's universal. Nobody is going to have to pay rent for a year. How's that looking for your portfolio? What are you thinking about your rental property? What do you think is going to happen? Okay, I got a scenario for you. What do you think is going to happen if you have a good tenant and that tenant is paying rent and he finds out, wait a second, they just passed some sort of universal rental thing and I don't have to pay rent for a year? What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, he's going to stop paying rent. Why should he? Hey, listen, you can't do anything. I'm going to be here for a year. This is awesome. This is cool, dude. The government's taking care of anything. It's socialist to the exponential level. This is absolutely nuts, people. I mean, absolutely nuts. Let's continue with this.
every renter will know that they are protected. That's really important because right now, renters often don't know if they're covered by the federal moratorium, and they are still getting evicted. Our bill also makes sure that renters don't get hit with high fees or penalties if they need a few extra months to pay the rent.
Whoa. What few extra months? You're proposing that they get a year for free, and then you don't want them getting hit with fees if they need a few extra months beyond a year? This is never going to end. It's designed to institute the socialist, communist, Marxist manifesto that they have been looking to do. This is no different than her saying cancel rent. She's saying it in the floor of the House, Senate, rather, she's a senator. She's saying it right there and saying that people will not have to pay rent again. Jeez.
We also need Senator Brown's emergency rental assistance bill, which would help renters make payments that they've missed or future rent payments so they can remain stable.
Wait. So now the rent that they missed, you want to have, on top of the landlords having sat now for a year, we're going to come up with something to pay the payments that they missed. And so this is going to go from the eviction court to the government. How is that going to be administered? How are landlords going to be protected?
Housed, and landlords can get their payments. Failing to put a safeguard in place to keep people in their homes is most likely to harm the most vulnerable Americans and to harm communities of color. It is critical that we act now. We cannot delay any longer. And with that.
So she wants to go ahead and let people stay for a year. And if they stay for a year, and by the way, at the very end, we're going to do something for the landlords. We don't know. It's a different bill. It's not mine. I haven't seen it. Can't talk to it. This other guy is going to talk about getting the landlords paid. So you're going to just pay landlords, and you're going to let people live for free? When did we become a communist country? This is insane. And you see where it's going. But I have one more for you. And this is from Senator Schumer up in New York.
One of the priorities Republicans do seem to agree on is what Leader McConnell has been clamoring about for weeks, that protecting corporations is their #1 priority. 1 in 5 renters face an eviction, and McConnell can't stop talking about the pandemic of lawsuits.
If they didn't have all of these lawsuits, there's 2 things they could stop that would help with schools and businesses being open. If they went and said, hey, listen, we're not going to allow you to sue somebody and say that you got COVID at their place of business. Not that you could ever prove it, but we don't even want people to have to defend such an insane lawsuit. But they don't want to do that. You know what really could help a lot of different people? Good people in bad situations? I haven't heard once. And let me ask you this. Have you ever heard anyone mention doing away with the credit bureaus? These things in the cloud, the Equifax, the TransUnion, that says, you are deemed X score, and that score is going to follow you around on your chest. You see, the people in these lower income communities don't have to worry about that. They get their stuff paid for by the government, which makes it a viable investment. Everybody else, you got a score written on your chest, and the first thing people do is look, oh, okay, here's your score, here's what you can do. Now, if they really wanted to change things, maybe that's what they should look at. Who came up with the idea that if these people who do get evicted, it stays on your record for 7 years or 10 years? Who came up with the idea that a bankruptcy stays on your record for 7, 10, 20 years or whatever? A foreclosure stays on your record for 7, 10, 20 years and can be renewed if there's a certified judgment down here in South Florida. Who came up with those ideas? You never hear them talk about that. That could change some things, but you never, ever hear that.
We're having a looming eviction crisis, and by all accounts, Republicans are preparing a bill that won't keep families in their homes. We know evictions and unpaid bills can have serious and long-term effects on households, and more than 40% of Black and Latinx renters report they're unlikely to make the rent in the next pay period.
Come on. Do you ever talk about anybody who's not a person of color? I'm married to a white woman. She finds it incredibly insulting that nobody that runs our country talks about everybody. We're carving out exceptions for certain periods, certain groups of people. I'm a black guy. I don't find that to be equitable whatsoever. That's absolutely nuts, but that's all they end up doing.
Getting evicted can cause damage to a family's finances, and eviction records take years to repair. Without rental assistance, more people will experience housing instability or homelessness, putting their health and everything else at risk. What do my colleagues, my Republican colleagues, have to say to these individuals?
Everything else at risk. What do you think Johnny not paying his rent is doing for Mr. Homeowner's credit and his ability to buy more properties and obtain more mortgages? Does that even cross your mind? Does it even matter to you? Or is it just the ones that you hope you can get to vote for you? That's where this stuff becomes very sick.
You lose your job through no fault of your own, this crisis. You're about to be evicted from your house, again through no fault of their own.
Okay, let's take that. You lose your job to no fault of your own. Your tenant doesn't pay his rent to no fault of your own. Can't you come back and have the same anger according to what you're hearing these people say? It's just as bad on the other side for us investors.
of your own. What does McConnell say? I want to help the corporate big boys on K Street. Bye-bye. We don't need you. Awful.
These guys make me sick. I mean, seriously. I mean, absolutely gut-wrenchingly sick. I'm getting ready to go have a nice dinner with my wife for our 27th anniversary, and I got to hear that crap. But, here's where the silver lining comes. So, one of the things that Trump did today, and it freaked people out, is he went ahead and destroyed the Obama Fair Housing Rule. And this rule, you're going to have to read up on it. I don't want to take all your time tonight. But this was the rule that Biden was counting on to go into the suburbs and basically do away with the zoning. He built his entire housing platform on this rule that is now gone. Yeah, he could probably reinstate it, but as of right now, it's gone. And you know, if you zoom into this, you're going to be able to find it. It's everywhere. I advise you to begin looking at what was planned and how the nefarious ways that they were going about this, and how now it's basically been taken off the table. And it's just, you know, it's a dark day for the country when the president boasts about maintaining housing segregation. Nobody's maintaining housing segregation. If I live in a gated community, I've earned that. I decided to, take the money that I've made and live in a place I want to. And I've lived in gated communities, and I wasn't turned away because I was black. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that. So this is something that you need to be keeping your eye on. And I compel you guys to look up this AFFH regulation that has now been tabled. This is absolutely huge. So let me lean in here. How do we all make money for this? How do we make money dealing with all this craziness that our political leaders moving into an election year are just keep changing the ground? How do we deal with this? Well, I'm telling you right now, and I've mentioned it before, and I'm going to click on it and show it to you again. I got the crystal ball. And you got to have that crystal ball, baby. And right now we have a crystal ball. We can see that the goalposts are being moved all around. And the only solid ground is renting out property to people whose rent is being paid for by the government. So that's why I'm looking to purchase every duplex, quad, tri, maybe even up to 8 units that I can get my hands on, because I'm going to let who's the guy from HUD? Is Ben HUD? Yeah, Ben's HUD. Let him send me direct deposits. So let me just show you something, because you're like, Barry, it's crazy. Why would you do that? So you have to look on this website, which is basically the fair housing market rents, and you can look for any area in the country, but since we live in South Florida, I'm going to look at the FMR, which is the fair market rents for the Fort Lauderdale area. And looky here, you can just throw this entire chart, you can go through it by zip code, and you would take your calculations on the offers you're going to make on a property. So you can look at this and say, hey, listen, if I have a house that I can purchase in 33004, and I can rent that house for X dollars, let's say it's a 3-bedroom. So if I can do my numbers and I can work backwards, I can get $2,200 a month from the government. What a country. Now, some of these, and I know these for these zip codes because I do a lot of work in those areas, are going to be not viable. They're just not going to be able to make it. I mean, you may get partial of what you're looking to get from it, but let's see. There's one I know. It's 33313. Okay. This here is your typical urban area filled with duplexes and triplexes, that I now know that if I get a certain piece of property, which is that this is going to be for 3 bedrooms, 2, 3, and 4. So here, 3, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, and 4. I get a 2-bedroom. I'm going to be able to charge $1,390. If I get a 3-bedroom, I'm going to be able to charge $2,010 per month. And if I get lucky enough to find a 4-bedroom, I'm going to get $2,400. That's when I'm taking 2,000 times 12, and I'm getting $24,000 in gross market rents. I'm looking for a cap rate of 9 to 10%. I'm doing my math, backing it out, and I'm putting my offer in so that I know every single month from the government, the direct deposit comes in, and it makes my nut. It's all a factor of math at this point. I can now look at any property I want to, go through it. I can change it to Palm Beach up here, or you go back and you can go to Palm Beach, Dade, wherever. And you can begin looking at properties according to what the government is going to pay you in rent. Obviously up in Palm Beach, it's a lot more expensive. I mean, there are some things in here. Look, this is a $3,000 a month payment that the government will give you. This one's another $3,000, $3,100. So if you find that property, look at this one here in this zip code, they'll give you $3,500. Whoa, look at this one. This one here in 478, they'll give you $3,600. That's yummy. So I can look for a 4-bedroom house. I know that 4-bedroom house is going to give me at least 3,600 times 12. It's going to give me like $38,000 a year in income from the government. I back out my expenses, my vacancies, which there won't be any, whatever repairs I need to do, taxes, insurance, and it's going to give me a number. And I'll show you tomorrow the calculator I use. And that number is what I'm going to make the offer at. Pure and simple. It's just math. If my crystal ball calculator says, hey, listen, you need to get this property for $270, that's what the offer goes in at. It's simple at this point. If you're not trying to wonder if you can make a return, if you want to determine what your return is in advance, if that's what you're looking for, give me a call. I'm serious, guys. Right now, we're looking to buy anything we can get our hands on that makes sense. And we've got all the charts. We've got the crystal ball. We know what makes sense. We know that right now and for the foreseeable future, renting out properties that go by Section 8 and you're getting a tenant in there that the government is going to pay you. Think about that. All it is a function of math right now. If you find the property that you could buy at your sweetheart number, whatever that return that you want. Some people I've talked to want as low as 6. Some people want as high as 11. Doesn't matter to me. I just plug it in, and if I can get the property, I have a buyer. If I can plug the numbers in, and my investors say, let's go, we'll take a 7.5% return, boom, we got it. It's coming from the government. You can't do any better right now, and right now that's what I'm all about. I'm looking at taking down duplexes, quads, triplexes, even up to 8 units, putting in tenants paid for by the government, and all I have to do is the math to make sure that the return is specific to the investor that I'm working with. I know I've said a mouthful here. This one has gone on longer than almost everything we've done before, but I had a lot to say today. And, make it ring. Call me. Let me know if you're interested in doing a deal. If you're interested in understanding how these numbers work and how you can make the return that you want, basically guaranteed by the federal government. It's right there, guys. And it's not going to change regardless of who wins the election. This Section 8 thing is here to stay. And if Biden wins, then you can see what Warren and Schumer are going to do. They're just going to increase the subsidies. Time to make some money. And I'm going to go ahead to dinner with my bride of 27 years, and Have a good evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.